Mr. Munsterteiger, my first question to you, what time did you get home Sunday morning from the Rocky Mountain Showdown?
I think I got home at between 5 and 5:30.
Wow!
And I had a podcast scheduled for 8 a.m. So, it took a while for me to go to bed, but I've slept enough this week. I'm ready to go. And I was checking out a little bit of the live video feed there, and I'm digging the Mike McIntyre back there. How about FIU starting out 3-1 this year? Just knocked off UConn on the road. He's for the third time building up a program that was kind of at rock bottom when he took over. FIU won just one game before he took over there. So I think as time has passed, people have regained a little bit more appreciation for Mike McIntyre, even though when on his way out he did a few things that were a little quirky and weird. But 2016, we'll always remember that.
I do a lot of reading on college football before the season, and everybody said FIU was going to be one of the worst teams in the country, that they didn't have any talent. All of them transferred out, and they wouldn't win many games this year. I don't think that schedule has been too tough so far, but it is impressive what McIntyre's done so far.
And, yeah, he's got Jay McIntyre there on staff with him, and Aaron Hagler, former Buffs, is on his staff. So I think even George Frazier, Aaron Hagler, Jay McIntyre. So there's a lot of former Buffs down there helping him coach that team.
Well, I can't say we're diligently working behind the scenes to get a nice little Coach Prime cover in here sooner rather than later, so keep an eye out for that with the Mile High Sports Magazine. But, Adam, we've got a big game on tap here between Colorado and Oregon, and let's just kind of do a little state of the Buffs here, because you beat TCU, all right? You kind of set the tone. You were a 3-touchdown underdog in that game, and then you come home and you take care of business against Nebraska, and then you sweat a little bit last weekend against the Colorado State Rams. This is by far the best opponent the Colorado Buffaloes will have faced up until this point in the season. What do you kind of make with the Buffs through the first 3 games? Do you think they're ready for an opportunity to go up against a top 10 ranked team? What's kind of the vibe around this program right now as they get ready to head to Eugene?
Yeah, it's all about perspective, right? If you're going by the national expectations for Colorado coming into the season, then you're definitely excited about what they were able to accomplish. Now, if you expected Colorado to compete for a Pac-12 championship, then you got a lot of concerns, because we did see signs of this being a program that could compete for a conference title, but we also saw signs that, that were concerning, in not being able to get a push in the interior of the offensive line, struggling defensively at times. Now, they were obviously super opportunistic, getting 10 takeaways in three non-conference games. But, yeah, to your point, now you go up against an Oregon and a Bo Nix who, over the course of his college career, has become more and more efficient and just a really smart quarterback at this stage of his college career, and has not thrown an interception this year. So you're going to have to just play more sound football. You can't rely on, big takeaways by the defense when you go against a Bo Nix and a Caleb Williams coming up next week. So, by and large, though, if you look at it as a whole, they're undefeated. You have to be super excited about that. But, there's a reason that I can't pick Colorado to win this game going on the road in a tough road environment, and that's because there were those question marks, and Colorado State did at times outplay Colorado. Now, you look across college football, every week there are teams that play to the level of their competition, or the competition rises, in Colorado State. We'll see what they do going forward, but that looked like a pretty good football team out there with a new quarterback on Saturday. So generally pretty encouraged about this team, but they're not at the level that they need to be, and even Coach Prime had said that in his press conference, that they definitely don't expect to win together more complete games.
So one of the biggest question marks so far on the offensive side of the ball has been the run game. Obviously, they could not figure out a way to run the ball against CSU, struggled against Nebraska. They had it going a little bit against TCU, mostly because they got Dylan Edwards outside and was able to run a little bit. We're expecting Alton McCaskill to return this week. Coach Prime said he's taken the yellow jersey off. How much do you expect him to play, first of all? And second of all, how much do you think he'll make an impact on that run game?
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. And it's been clear that Alton McCaskill has been chomping at the bit. We saw midway through preseason camp on the behind-the-scenes footage from Deion Sanders Jr. on Well Off Media, where Alton McCaskill McCaskill was begging Coach Prime to take off that no-contact jersey, and we saw clips of him in the preseason where even wearing that no-contact jersey, he was throwing his shoulder into guys and trying to get that contact. So he wants to get going. Now, I don't think you necessarily throw a guy out there coming off a torn ACL. He hasn't been in a game in almost 2 years now at this point. You probably don't want to give him more than 5 to 10 carries just to get his feet wet. But, that could definitely give them a boost, a ground game that needs it. They're only averaging 61 yards per game on the ground, which is last in the conference. Now, lost sack yardage does go into that total, so not quite as brutally bad as maybe the stats make it look because of that. But, the real issue is the interior of that offensive line and not getting a push consistently. And so I don't know if it really matters who's your running back right now. If you can't get a better push, it's not going to make a ton of difference. But McCaskill was the most talented back in that group and has the highest ceiling. This is a guy that has the potential to be an NFL-type back. So if you can start to create some space for him, that ground game could definitely get going here.
What's kind of Coach Prime's mentality of protecting the player versus needing the player out there to, help get the win? It seems like this is kind of one of those dynamics. You talk about him, essentially begging to, be on the field and be able to play. He hasn't played in quite some time. Like, I think back to Prime's comments about Travis Hunter about, we got to take care of him. It's going to be a few weeks, this and that. Obviously, we know these players are very eager to want to get out there, but how have you seen Coach Prime kind of balance the competitive aspect of wanting your best guys out there to go out and win the game, but also looking out for the person as a whole and protecting their assets, which is their body in this instance?
That is a great question. And one of the things that, if I get an opportunity, I want to ask Coach Prime about is if his philosophy and the way he kind of goes about that has changed at all. Because if you watched the Prime documentary from last season at Jackson State, they really went in depth in terms of the injury that Travis Hunter was dealing with going into his first game there, and kind of talked to Coach Prime and the staff into letting him play more than he probably should have. And he never really got to 100% health last year. I wonder if that maybe changed his outlook, because it seems like he's been pretty conservative in terms of bringing guys back and not wanting to rush their timeline. We haven't really seen any guys getting rushed back, and Van Wells is a guy they could have really used out there last Saturday against CSU, but they didn't want to push it. So I am curious if that has changed a little bit, or maybe that was just an isolated situation with Travis Hunter because he is such an elite player that maybe he gave him a different type of grace in that sense. But since he's been at Colorado, Coach Prime has definitely taken a more conservative approach with bringing guys back from injuries.
Adam, we got a question from a listener here on our text line. Could you envision a 2 tight end set with Faria and Hairston, maybe Bishop Thomas at fullback and Alto at running back?
I doubt it, because Mikey Harrison had 7 catches technically out of the tight end position. And you can kind of talk semantics in terms of whether he was a slot receiver in a lot of those cases or a true tight end. But he had 7 catches. That equaled the number of catches that Sean Lewis's tight ends at Kent State had all of last season. So the tight end is something that they're implementing more because so much of the focus from the other team, and we saw it with CSU in the second half, was on Zay Weaver and Jimmy Horn Jr., and that opened things up for Mikey Harrison to score 14 of the team's final 17 points in that game. I don't know, unless you're taking advantage of a defense that's focused on other guys, that the tight end's necessarily going to be a focal point of this offense going forward. But, it would be nice to see Fourier out there a little bit. This is a guy that has battled injuries basically his entire college career and has had quite a bit of talent that he showcased in that limited time that he's been healthy on campus. And he's gotten a little bit of action. So maybe as he continues to ease back in, they can get him into the mix as well.
All right, let's stay on the topic of injuries. Obviously, Travis Hunter not going to be available for the next 3-4 weeks. Coach Prime was asked about Cormani McClain. Doesn't sound like we're going to see much of him still. Who are some cornerbacks that you are expected to step up? And what's the deal with Carter Stoutmire? He didn't play this past week. He played a lot against Nebraska. It looked like he's a guy that they could definitely use this week if he's healthy.
Yeah, we asked Charles Kelly about that yesterday, and he said that Carter Stoutmire might be back in the mix. Didn't go into specifics. It definitely was a minor injury. You could see him even jogging around pregame, helping guys warm up before the Colorado State game. And I think if Carter Stoutmeyer is healthy, I do think that is your other starting quarterback with Omarion Cooper, as long as Travis Hunter is on the shelf. They have just been really impressed with him from day one, and he definitely, his signing got overshadowed by Cormani McClain, but Carter Stoutmeyer was a really productive high school football player with great bloodlines. His dad, Omar Stoutmeyer, played in the NFL for 11 years, and he came in physically ready, and he came in earlier than Cormani. He was on campus at the very beginning of the summer, got acclimated to things a little bit quicker, and just has played with a confidence that they want Cormani McClain to play with. And that's kind of why I think you saw Coach Prime give a very short answer at his press conference on Tuesday when asked why Cormani's not in the mix. And Coach Prime says it's on him. You know, he's got to show that he's willing to battle through some things. Now, Cormani was also dealing with a bit of a finger issue that I don't think people knew about. And so he was, not 100% for a period of time. That also set him back a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked if Travis Jay, who's coming back from an injury, transferred from Florida State, and has been practicing pretty well here recently, is out there as well. Or you have Kendrick Breedlove is the other option, a transfer from Ole Miss, who's the guy they went with last week with Hunter out, and he struggled a little bit in that role, but they like his potential. So there's quite a few guys in there, but if Carter Stoutmeyer is healthy, I think that's who you go with as your other starter.
It'll be interesting. I'm very curious to see how Shiloh Sanders performs, obviously with the pick 6, wearing his father's number last week in the Rocky Mountain Showdown. We'll keep an eye on that matchup. You mentioned Bo Nix with the lack of turnovers and protecting the ball. It's going to be a very, very fun game. All right, before we get out of here, Mr. Munsterteiger, you knew it was coming. What's your thoughts? What's your opinions? What's Adam Munsterteiger's prediction for this game? Can Colorado keep it close? Is Oregon that much better? What's your read on this matchup?
Yeah, I was thinking after the TCU game, I probably shouldn't pick Colorado to lose another game until they prove otherwise, until they prove that I shouldn't pick them to win. But the Travis Hunter injury, coupled with some of the issues against Colorado State last week, and Oregon, it being maybe the toughest environment in the Pac-12, and such a smart quarterback behind center, and really good skill players around him. I mean, they go 3 deep at running back, and they're all really talented. So it's a really difficult challenge, and I can't pick them in the upset, but I really do think this is going to be a lot closer than the odds makers think. And I predicted 45-42 with Oregon coming out on top, but I expect this one to come down to the wire. I really expect a highly entertaining football game.
45-42, that's a score we're familiar with, isn't it? From week 1?
Yep.
Oh, I'm excited, man. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good game, a road game, so I get to watch this one on TV myself. But Adam Munsterteiger, publisher of BuffStampede.com, be sure to check out all of his work over there. My man, thank you so much for a few minutes of your time. We'll do it again next week, and we'll see if this team's still undefeated or if they've come back down to reality. Appreciate it, Adam.
Sounds great, guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Adam Munsterteiger. Again, be sure to check out his site, BuffStampede.com. He's been the publisher of that site since 2003. So he's seen the ups, the downs, the arounds, everything that there is to know about the Colorado Buffs. Adam Munsterteiger's got you covered at BuffStampede.com.